Shalom. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. Forgive me the spirit and power to make this lesson. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that teach this truth. And Ruel Wabrakatham unto the elect, beginning with the 144,000 on down to the men, women, and children that do believe, which will be saved in these latter days, the elect. All right, this is the brother Gabar from the Great Millstone Dallas branch with another lesson. And I want to go into how the Lord favors the humble, the meek. Okay, it goes a long way with Yahweh Shemal Shah when you're humble, when you're meek. Okay, just as Yahweh Shai, he came and made himself of no reputation. I grab that. He even ran from being king at one point, because he understood the mission. So you have to understand the mission, and you have to understand it with humility, Slakia. Philippians chapter 2 and let's start at verse 5. Philippians 2 and 5. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. So we're supposed to be following the pattern of Yahweh Shai. It says, who, being in the form of Yahweh, thought it not robbery to be equal with Yahweh, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of man. So he made himself lowly. All right, when he came down here, all right, he didn't make himself a man of renown, Now he was famous, all right. There was many people that would come out, that believed and, that didn't believe, all right. But he was known, all right. He was growing in fame. That's why the wicked scribes and Pharisees, they envied him, and delivered him up to be, crucified, okay? But the point is that Yahweh Shah took no reputation to himself, all right? He made himself a servant, okay? And that's what you want to do, following that likeness, all right? Letting others esteem you and not yourself, okay? And saying that the exalting comes after that, before honor is the humility. Verse 8, and being found in the fashion as a man, he humbled himself. You see? So we got to humble ourselves. He humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Wherefore Yahweh also hath highly exalted him. You see how the exalting is going to come when the Lord does it in his time. All right. And giving him a name which is above every name, right? Yahweh Shai, okay? Now going to the precepts, all right, that I wanted to grab right quick. Let's get 2 Chronicles chapter 33 in the NLT. And I want to start at verse 1. It says, Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 55 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, following the detestable practices of the pagan nations that the Lord Yahweh had driven from the land ahead of the Israelites. So he was going off, and it's going to go into it more. It says he rebuilt the pagan shrines his father Hezekiah had broken down. He constructed altars for the images of Baal and set up Asherah poles, Asherah poles. He also bowed before all the powers of the heavens and worshiped them. He built pagan altars in the temple of the Lord Yahweh, the place where the Lord Yahweh has said, my name will remain in Jerusalem forever. He built these altars for all the powers of the heavens in both courtyards of the Lord's temple. Manasseh also sacrificed his own sons in the fire in the valley of Ben Hinnom. He practiced sorcery, divination, and witchcraft, and he consulted with mediums and psychics. He did much that was evil in the Lord's sight, arousing his anger. All right, so he was going off big time. All right, now let's continue reading. Verse 7. Manasseh even took a carved idol he had made and set it up in Yahweh's temple, the very place where Yahweh had told David and his son Solomon, "My name will be honored forever in this temple and in Jerusalem, the city I have chosen from among all the tribes of Israel. If the Israelites will be careful to obey my commands, all the laws, decrees, and regulations given through Moses, I will not send them into exile from this land that I set aside for your ancestors." But Manasseh led the people of Judah and Jerusalem to do evil, more evil than the pagan nations that the Lord Yahweh had destroyed when the people of Israel entered the land. Verse 10. The Lord Yahweh spoke to Manasseh and his people, but they ignored all his warnings. So the Lord Yahweh sent the commanders of the Assyrian armies, and they took Manasseh prisoner. They put a ring through his nose, bound him in bronze chains, and led him away to Babylon. But while in deep distress, Manasseh sought the Lord Yahweh his power and sincerely humbled himself before the power of his ancestors. Right? So you have to be sincere, all right, when you come humbly to Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua, not just faking, just so you can get out of a situation. Okay? Verse 13, and when he prayed, the Lord Yahweh listened to him and was moved by his request. Why was he moved? Why was he moved by his request? Because he was sincerely humbled. He understood that he was going off. You see? So it's going, that humility is going to go a long way between you and the Father. Just like that son, when he went off spending his money on pro toots. I say it like that, pro toots. All right. And, righteous living and whatnot. And, he basically came back and he didn't say, I'm your son, help me out, or, whatever. He said, let me be the least, of your servants, at least, let me be that. And the Father welcomed him and kissed him and put a ring on his hand, So when you come back humbly to Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua, he deals with that, okay? That's what we're learning. All right, and this Manasseh was going off big time, man. All right. It says, so the Lord Yahweh, I'm going to start at 13. It says, and when he prayed, the Lord Yahweh listened to him and was moved by his request. So the Lord Yahweh brought Manasseh back to Jerusalem and to his kingdom. Then Manasseh finally realized that the Lord Yahweh alone is the Most High, is God. All right. Verse 14, after this, Manasseh rebuilt the outer wall of the city of David from west of Gihon Spring to the Kidron Valley to the Fish Gate and continuing around the hill of Ophel. He built the wall very high, and he stationed his military officers in all of the fortified towns of Judah. Manasseh also removed the foreign gods and the idol from the Lord Yahweh's from the Lord's temple. He tore down all the altars he had built on the hill where the temple stood, and all the altars that were in Jerusalem, and he dumped them outside the city. When he restored the altar of the Lord Yahweh and sacrificed peace offerings and thanksgiving offerings on it, he also encouraged the people of Judah to worship the Lord Yahweh, the power of Israel. However, the people still sacrificed at the pagan shrines, though only the Lord Yahweh, Satan, though only to the Lord their power. Okay? So yeah, all right, basically the Lord corrected him. All right, but he made him see it by bringing tribulation upon him. All right, and then he got humbled and understood. Okay? So when you're going through different things, you should be seeking Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua with humility. Okay? I want to grab another one, Job 36. All right, Job 36 and verse 1. All right, and this is going to basically go into that as well. It's going to break that down, what we just read. It says, Job 36 and 1, Elihu continued speaking, let me on, and I will show you the truth, for I have not finished defending God. I will present profound arguments for the righteousness of my Creator. I am telling you nothing but the truth, for I am a man of great knowledge. God is almighty, but he does not despise anyone. He is mighty in both power and understanding. He does not let the wicked live, but gives justice to the afflicted. He never takes his eyes off the innocent, but he sets them on thrones and with kings and exalts them forever. If they are bound in chains, just like Manasseh was, right? Those bronze chains, all right? It says, and caught up in a web of trouble, he shows them the reason. He shows them their sins of pride, right? So the Lord will chastise you. He'll bring things upon you, all right? And you will have to learn the reason, okay? Different times, certain things happen. The Lord wants you to know that you are being prideful, okay? It says he shows them the reason. He shows them their sins of pride. He gets their attention and commands that they turn from evil. You see? So the Lord wants you to turn from evil. All right. And if you obey, all right, then this will happen. Verse 11. If they listen and obey God, they will be blessed with prosperity throughout their lives, right? The Lord will bring you back, just like he brought Manasseh back. It says, throughout their lives, all their years will be pleasant. But if they refuse to listen to him, right, the Lord brings chastisement upon you, and you refuse, just like in the law, I believe Leviticus, all right, I believe it's in Leviticus. In the law, when you have a child, in the ancient world, you have a child, and you chastising him, he not listening, well, eventually you're going to take him to the high priest, and then you're going to stone him. He's going to be stoned and put to death, all right, for being wicked. You know, he's just a drunkard. He don't listen. He's just being evil. But then, yeah, he's going to be, evil is going to be put out from the nation. Okay. Continuing on. Verse 12, Job 36 and 12. And this is in the NLT. Salakia, I don't know if I said that. And also the Chronicles was in the NLT. It says, but if they refuse to listen to him, they will cross over the river of death, dying from lack of understanding. Right. My people perish for lack of knowledge. You see? So when you're going through different things, understand that you must come back to Yahweh B'Shem Ashai in humility. All right. Certain things the Lord will have happen and put it in your mind. All right. For you to turn from wickedness, from whatever it is. All right. To do what you're supposed to do. He could put on the spirit to tell somebody to tell you, just like the Lord was speaking to Manasseh and his people, and they wouldn't listen for a time. Then the Lord brought the calamity. So the Lord is going to speak first. All right. He always speaks first. Okay. And this could be that, this could be that for me. You just have to take it like it is. Okay. Moving on, James 4 and 6. But he giveth more grace. Wherefore he saith, Yahweh resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. Right. When you give grace to somebody, let's just type in grace. Grace definition on Google. It says, Salakia. Still kind of sick, but Salakia. It says simple elegance or refinement of movement. It says a period officially allowed for payment of a sum due or for compliance with a law or condition, especially an extended period granted as a special favor, right? When something is already due, you'll get a grace period to then give it because you messed up the first time. All right. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right. So anyway, going back, that James 4 and 6, but he giveth more grace. So the Lord will give you more grace. All right. Wherefore he said, Yahweh resist the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. So you got to be humble to receive that grace. You're not just going to get it. If the Lord been talking to you and trying to get you to do something, to turn, to repent, and you haven't, the Lord's going to bring the calamity. All right. And then, hey, if you don't listen, especially then, that's if it's not too late. If the Lord ain't made his mind up already to say, this is it for him, then you must repent. All right. Sirach 10 and 7. Pride is hateful before Yahweh and man, and by both doth one commit iniquity. Right. So that pride, all right, is going to have you commit iniquity, sin. All right, transgression of the law. That's what sin is. Okay, and the Lord doesn't like that. Now, he understands we're in these bodies, so he sent his son Yahushua to sacrifice himself, lay down his life. All right, so we have that blood. We got access to that precious blood, but that doesn't mean you go on committing iniquity. All right, you have to understand that. But the Lord hates pride. You don't want to be walking around in pride. Okay, the Lord destroys the prideful. All right. Now, my last precept, 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. You see? So the Lord will give grace. He will give more grace if you humble yourself. All right, pray and seek his face and turn from your wicked ways. Repent, fear the Lord. Okay, do what you have to do. Okay, and then the Lord will deal with you. But he's not gonna Salakia. He's not gonna deal with you in your prideful ways. Okay, and that's just the message that I want to relay through this lesson. So Lord's will, this was edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bashim Shai for giving me the spirit and power to make this lesson. All right, humility, as we see in the scriptures, humility goes a long way. A long way in the eyes of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Until next time, Kamra Shalom.